All right, everyone. Welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for July 3rd through the 9th of 2017. All right, so this week we have a full moon at the end of the week. We're going to talk about that and quite a few aspects taking place here, mostly about the middle part of the week. We'll discuss. A lot of this is involving Mercury, and in fact, we do have the sun in Gemini. This whole lunar cycle has started in Gemini. And as a lot of you know, Mercury and Gemini are about the same things, essentially about information, communication, learning, practical knowledge, rationality, all of this stuff that has to do with the more practical, mental, and exchanging aspects of life. So this is the collective energy that's being cultivated during this lunar cycle at this time. And so what's going to happen at the end of the week is we have a full moon, which is the high point of all of this Gemini energy of practicality. But of course, all full moons are in the opposite sign, usually. And so here it's Sagittarius. Sagittarius opposite Gemini suggests that by the end of the week, it's about balance. And that, of course, it's important to have this mental, practical energy. But at the same time, it's important to have a larger perspective on things, to have an open mind, right? To not just get caught up into the nitty-gritty of things and the mental details and the concepts, but opening our horizons, opening our mind to possibilities, because it is through those possibilities, through those theories, through that fire, through that feeling about our life path even, and where we're headed and our purpose and our direction, that does balance out a lot of this more day-to-day practical energy of Gemini. So we'll talk about the full moon here when we get to it, but I did just want to say, you know, this week, as we go through it, it's definitely about this sort of understanding axes of the chart, right? How are we thinking about things? How are we perceiving things? How are we communicating, right? Are we learning? Are we willing to learn, right? These are some questions that I think are good to ask as this lunar cycle gets fuller and fuller. The full moon will be Saturday and Sunday. All right, so with all that being said, let's go and look at the placements, see where the other planets are. I do, again, want to preface by saying that this channel is using the actual size of the constellations, as you can see here. So it is different from mainstream astrology. If you are new to the channel, you definitely want to check out the link down below in the comment section. That's going to help you understand the difference here, because the signs are different from mainstream astrology. And after we look at this collective portion of the reading, I am going to get into the individual signs. And so you want to make sure you're watching this video for your what's called your sidereal sign with this system. All right, so let's break this down in terms of these other planets. So yeah, Gemini is definitely the this whole cycle, what it's really about, mental, practical stuff. But we also do have Venus in Taurus. So when it comes to relationships, when it comes to the things we enjoy in life, there's a lot of this grounded energy, this Taurus energy, enjoying things perhaps slowly, steadily, stopping to smell the roses. This is actually Venus's sign. She's very comfortable here. So Venus is about our values. And so our values are very much aligned with Earth and our resources and the simple pleasures of life. Okay, so it can be very enjoyable to connect there. When it comes to relationships, there's a lot of this grounded energy as well. We could be very slow and stable in our relationships, steady in our relationships. Again, wanting to connect and enjoy in that sensual way, connecting to enjoyment, sensuality, beauty in life, nature, maybe with our relationships, right? This type of stuff. All right, so along with that, Mercury is actually shifting into Cancer right at the beginning of the week on Monday. Monday, Tuesday, we'll start to probably feel this shift of where, although it's, yes, mental energy with Gemini, the type of mental energy that we're going to notice this shift with early in the week is likely more on the emotional side of things. Cancer, maybe thinking and communicating sentimentally based in our intrinsic values, right? On our roots, on our emotions, on our feelings. It can make us very reflective, in fact. Our mind might be thinking about the past, thinking about those sentiments, gaining information from our inner guidance, from our soul, All right, this is all Cancer. And it can be very protective, you know, where we're wanting to connect to this emotional intelligence. But to do that, of course, we do have to create space, maybe get a bit of privacy, right? Get that internal time to really listen to what our soul and our emotions and our feelings and our bodies are saying at this time. So that's the fast mover placements. Everything else is pretty much the same. So let's go ahead and look at the aspects here this week. So as I said, coming into the week, Mercury shifting into that Cancerian energy. Still be mental, but likely through this more emotional faculty of Cancer. Along with that, we do have some easy aspects with Chiron this first half of the week. Venus sextiling Chiron Monday, Tuesday. Mercury trines Chiron into Wednesday. Chiron, the planet of healing, can make us feel quite rejuvenated and healed coming into the week. Maybe involving relationships with Venus, right? It's not a major aspect, but an opening with the sextile, which does suggest that there might be this sort of refreshment here, right? Wanting to connect, wanting to enjoy things in life. And in that way, feeling just sort of refreshed and rejuvenated about it. Chiron is retrograde at this time, so a lot of the deeper healing we've maybe been doing the past 6 months is also lifted up this week with Chiron retrograde. All right, and then, yeah, with Mercury, you know, going into Wednesday, maybe the way we're thinking about things, we're just a little bit more, not clear, but, you know, we don't feel the wounds about it, right? We don't feel any deep wounds about what we're thinking about our intelligence, about what we're communicating. It's just, in this sense, supportive in that we feel like, yes, we can communicate, think, learn, and just, again, feel a bit healed about that kind of stuff. But with that being said, Mercury is squaring up to Uranus Tuesday, Wednesday. This can give us a bit of scattered mental energy, right? Again, Mercury, the planet of our mind. Uranus is the planet of high frequency, mixing things up, revolution, right? Even rebellion, you know, breaking free of all the things that aren't an expression of what we're about or hold us back from expressing what we're truly about. So in a square, it can have that kind of energy where we feel restricted or limited in some way in that we're wanting to break free. Okay, so there's a bit of clash here with that in our mental energy. It can leave us feeling a bit scattered, maybe impulsive, maybe anxious, can sometimes be the case depending on your personal chart, maybe rash. So do be aware of that so that we're not acting impulsively, of course, or just reacting to things based on that, you know, irritability or wanting to break free. And through that conscious attention, it can help us take steady action, right? Maybe, again, whatever it is we're communicating with Mercury, whatever it is we're thinking about, or even working on in the routine. You know, Mercury is also the routine planet. Square Uranus can maybe make a lot of busyness, all right, or scatteredness in the day-to-day. So listen to the freedom. Obviously, Uranus is trying to integrate with Mercury, and it's suggesting that, yes, freedom is very important, but there's a constructive way of doing this, right, of implementing it, either in your routine, through communicating things with a bit more presence and awareness that is true to you, but again, centered, and again, thinking about it in that kind of sense. And it can give you a bit of innovation and progressiveness when constructively implemented there. Maybe some new ideas. In fact, with all this Gemini energy, it is the time of ideas, right? This whole week, especially as we get to that fuller full moon. So that's the early part of the week. As we get to about midweek here, Wednesday, Thursday, we've got the sun pretty much doing what Mars did last week at almost the exact time, actually. You know, it's the exact part of the week, in fact. So in this case, the sun is going to be squaring up to Jupiter, particularly these 2 days, Wednesday, Thursday, and trining up to Neptune. So the sun in Gemini, this is the aspect of ourself that wants to express ourself. All right, wants to express. It's our natural focus on the world. It's what we're aware of. And so this can be very personal. And with Neptune on one hand, I think there is a lot of this ease of focus, easygoingness. Maybe it is easy to express ourselves, particularly when it's about receptive things, or we're just more receptive to expressing ourselves. And there can be an ease with that, right? The trine up to Neptune, a bit of flow with the self-expression, a flow with whatever it is we're focused on, because we're more willing to go with the flow. We're more receptive with this, okay? So that's definitely a very positive thing. Also very good for spiritual activities, meditation. We can be very giving at this time, in fact. Very compassionate, understanding, right? But with that, the square up to Jupiter, which is, although a positive planet, and oftentimes does come across as positive, we do want to be aware of if there is any over buoyancy, if there's anything we're being maybe grandiose about, over optimistic about, right? Buoyant, right? Overly so. Sometimes with the square, Jupiter expands, and in a square, sometimes it can be too much. So it's important to stay grounded, again, with all this practical energy of Gemini. How can we take this, perhaps, optimism that we have, or buoyancy, right? Or this freedom that we want sometimes with Jupiter, and practically implement it? Think about it, right? Go through the practical motions and grounded motions of bringing down to earth these possibilities, this optimism, this larger than life perspective, right? And sometimes too, with the square up to Jupiter, we can feel a little bit under-emphasized, emphasizing optimism. We may not be optimistic. We may not have the, see the possibilities, but know that they're there. And there's a pendulum swinging with this square to Jupiter. And so it is about the centeredness, right? Seeing that there are possibilities, then there's also this practical way of implementing them with the Sun in Gemini. All right, but I think that trine up to Neptune is going to support this. So it's a little bit of both the receptive and then also this needing to implement and ground possibilities and potentials in healthy ways. Okay, doing the work often is the case with the square. It's a lot like Saturn, the work, the steps. All right, so then as we get into here about Friday, but really Thursday, Friday, Saturday, with these fast movers, but they're both moving in the same direction, so it's dragging this out. Mercury sextiles up to Venus, a minor aspect, but a nice one. Speaking of relationships, speaking of our values, connecting, enjoying, again, that sensual, grounded, earthy aspect of life with Venus and Taurus, we have a nice synergy here with our minds. Maybe communication can flow in relationships. Maybe we're understanding some things that we value in life. All right, we have a clear sense of our values. We're able to communicate those values. Maybe we're seeing the beauty of our life. Maybe we're grateful. All right, very good here. Gratitude, because we're seeing the values. We're seeing the enjoyments. We're seeing the things and the people we value in life. And we can express that. We can communicate that. We can learn about that. And so there can also be, again, a lot of information, maybe about relationships, maybe about the things we value, and again, enjoying them. Even enjoying mental pursuits, reading, writing, communication with Venus in aspect to Mercury. All right, so not major, but it's an opening, and it's a collective opening where we can choose or choose not to utilize it, but I think it's certainly available. All right, so now let's talk about this full moon. It is the apex of the month. It is going to be Saturday night, Sunday morning for most of us, but both days nonetheless. And it is another very powerful full moon. It's going to be conjunct Pluto, a very close conjunction, as you can see here. I think it's within a degree, actually. But if not, it's very close to a degree. So we've had a lot of Pluto energy, right? Last week we had Mars going over this opposition with Pluto. Right, we had a lot of this facing of our fears last week. All right, maybe last weekend, right, leading into this week as well. Maybe buckling down, making some changes that we're afraid to make or to do or to take action towards. All right, so this full moon is going to be activating that. It is going to be conjunct Pluto and opposite up to Mars, especially as the sun gets closer to Mars and the sun starts to oppose up to Pluto going into Monday. But yes, it's now the status check of this. It's also the high point in the cultivation of this. So thinking in terms of, yes, from late last week, what were some steps, some actions you can take in the face of some of these fears that now are being illuminated at this week's end, right? What are these fears? And what can you do What steps can you take? Because the full moon is a time of action. This is a time where we do want to be moving things forward, all right? We do want to be implementing. But with that being said, it's also listening to the guidance that we're getting at this time, right? Through action, but also listening. Full moon is a spiritual time where there's a lot of this solar energy bouncing off the moon, giving us insight, giving us awareness. And what fundamentally this is about, although it's going to require, again, facing the fears, taking the actions, seeing the possibilities. There is a square up to Jupiter with it. I'm going to dissect this full moon in detail next week or this week, depending on when you're watching this. Okay, but the fundamental to the full moon is Sagittarius. It's that this is an awareness collectively about our life path, about our greater purpose, about our direction in life, and how to connect to that fire, right? That leads us to where we need to go, right? And so it can make us perhaps adventurous. I think it's great to do a status check this full moon in terms of, are we open to adventure? Are we open to expanding our horizons? Are we open-minded? Are we seeing all the possibilities in the face of those fears? All right, are we willing to transform the life path? Are we willing to go in a new direction if maybe it does mean letting some things go? Right? So very powerful. Again, very close to this conjunction with Pluto. And this is going to be in different areas for all of you individually, which we're going to go ahead and break down right now. All right, so at this point of the video, go down to the comment section. You can click the timestamp next to your sign. Again, if you're new to the channel, be sure to check that that link to make sure you're watching this for the right sign. And I do recommend watching this video for your sun, moon, and ascendant sign. If you know your time of birth, there is a birth chart calculator down below as well. All right, so let's go and look at this individually. All right, Aries, welcome to your weekly forecast. So let's have a look at your ruler to get some context here. Your ruler's in your third house. The sun's in your third house. And so there's a lot of concentration here on a lot of the same stuff I talk about in the general applies to you because of the, the signs are linked with the houses for you. So anyways, yeah, Gemini, but more specifically for you, the third house is where the foundation is in this month, basically. So this is about learning. It's about practical things. It's about knowledge. It's about communication. So you likely do have this focus here on these practical things. Maybe some of you are taking a course, some of you doing some reading, some of you writing, communication, maybe connecting with your peers or your community. Some of you may be doing some business or some trade, right? Or dealing with communication on that level. So, all this practical stuff is the big theme, right? You got your ruler here really emphasizing this, and you can be very direct with your communications at this time. Be learning a lot about your communication, right? And there's just this sort of cultivation of this side of you, and even too, becoming more aware of how you think about things and what is your perspective and your thoughts and all of this. So important. Our mind, as our feelings, are the foundation to life, and you can see this through the astrology, through the chart. The third house and the fourth house form the foundation of the chart, the mind and the body, right? The mind and the feelings, right? And so this is what's being built, is this foundation in terms of your perspective, how you think, right? So important. So with that being said, though, Mercury is shifting into your fourth house of feeling. And so early in the week, around Monday, Tuesday, you're likely going to start to see this sort of, or feel this sort of shift where you're thinking more on an emotional level, or maybe you're more concerned with, again, your sentiments. More specifically, the fourth house is the house of home. It is the house of health as well. So you might be thinking about these things, right? Or you might be working on these things. You might be working around the home, taking care of some things, maybe spending some time with your family, learning about your health, learning about your intuition of listening to your body, right? Maybe getting some private time as well, right? A bit of privacy with Cancer in the fourth house. So it's both, right? Mental, which I think is the more emphasized for you next month, astrologically speaking. Here in about a couple weeks, there's going to be more of a shift. Actually, to be very soon once your ruler goes in there. I think next week. Yeah, next week, Mars will be going into your fourth house. So, around the corner, certainly more of the emotional side of things, but right now, certainly the more mental and practical. So developing that. And as we go through this week, Saturday, Sunday is the full moon at the end of the week, suggesting that a lot of this practical mental stuff is coming to a high point, is cultivating. And so, yes, use this momentum that you have, use this energy, this awareness to cultivate whatever the new beginnings were. About a week or two involving this practical stuff. So at the week's end is the full moon. As I said, it's very powerful, and this is in your ninth house, which again is the house of your life path, of your life direction. But the ninth house more specifically might be some of you, if you've been involved with any type of philosophy the past 6 months. This could be coming to a high point, your perspective in terms of what's possible in life, your adventurous spirit. Some of you may be university studies. Again, maybe it's somehow associated with this practical learning, reading, writing, if it's on that sphere. Others, maybe it's more adventurous in the sense of travel or long distance matters. Okay, this is also coming ahead. So whatever it is, though, that's actually being cultivated here for you in both of these areas, this sort of understanding axes and life, our perspective of life axes. On that same token, there's also the status check. Okay, so I think by week's end, it's really good to do this status check in the sense of, how is that life path going? How is that expansive, that adventurous side, right? And through this awareness, it should, all of us, but more specifically your sign, because it's the ninth house for you, give us a sense of purpose, a sense of direction, a little bit clear about where we're headed, where we're putting our energy, and where that inner flame is guiding us, that flame for life, that spark for life. So fiery, yes. Open-minded, yes. Adventurous, all of this is at a high point. And so just an excellent time to do a status check in terms of how are these things like your life path unfolding at this time. You're likely going to notice some things are working, some things are not working. And so you want to continue, you're probably going to shift on some level here through this awareness, through this information, this insight. There will be this shift of maybe leaving something behind, letting go of something so you can continue your life path, okay, your purpose, your direction, or whatever this more expansive stuff is for you personally. So with that being said, you know, Pluto is the planet of transformation, the planet of change. Your perspective has been changing already for the past many years with Pluto in your 9th house. All right, you're facing the fears, right? Facing the fears to pursue your life path. And so now with this full moon being so close to Pluto, there's this awareness of the fears, especially with this full moon opposing up to your ruler Mars, right? Opposing up to what has been an opposition mostly last week between you facing those fears and making the changes that you feel guided to make, that the fire, the flame, the inner flame is guiding you to make. So very powerful. I think it's very good to be aware, dive deep, but then to take the steps and actions in the face of what you're guided to do. What, again, that inner spark, that flame, that purpose, that direction, that insight that is coming to the forefront this week's end. In the face of those fears, yes, cultivating this direction for you. All right, so these are the most important things taking place this week. It's this fundamental increasing of energy, increasing of awareness at the end of the week, conjunct Pluto, again, facing fears, being as non-attached, you know, facing fears and accepting the fear, the worst case scenario, whatever it is we're afraid of. Because when we truly accept the fear, it frees us up, it liberates us. We no longer care. We are obviously concerned with what we're doing, but we're not concerned with the outcome. And we're free to make the changes we want to see. All right, so let's talk about some of these minor things going on this week. Like Tuesday, Wednesday, we have this Mercury. He's going to be squaring up to Uranus. So yeah, there might be a bit of, as I was saying, Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe a bit of scattered energy or something like that. It may have to do with this home shift or this shift towards your sentiments, your past, your reflective energy. It's spiritual. Uranus is in your 12th house. So this is all unconscious, subconscious, very watery type of energy. So meditation, right? I think Uranus is helping you find more freedom with getting your alone time, your meditative time. Things like that perhaps could help, getting some rest. You know, but maybe it is hard to relax or something like that. But spending time at home, maybe connecting with your family or your body, again, reflective and all this, and just sort of integrating what is this freedom that I think you want. That's spiritual freedom. But spiritual freedom is that of pure acceptance, right? Accepting where we are, being present in the now. Wednesday through Thursday, we do have the sun trining up to Neptune. So we have the supportive energy here. Maybe it'll be a good time to connect with friends or community. Maybe there's just some easygoingness around any groups or organizations you're a part of, something like that. Groups you're a part of, or maybe you're just feeling a bit inspired. So that's good. It's healthy energy. And I think it's supporting you along with this mental energy around this time. But the square up to Jupiter does suggest maybe there is some of this over or under optimism about your work or your day to day. And maybe there are some steps you can take midweek to cultivate your routine, your diet, your regimens, your work, your day to day stuff that can help you ground this Jupiter energy, which can otherwise maybe leave us a bit overextended, over or under optimistic, maybe about those work, day-to-day, self-improvement related things, which you have so much opportunity for, right? But sometimes we do have to take the steps, which is the square, to actually ground and implement those opportunities. All right, and then around Friday, Mercury sextiles up to Venus. Venus is in your 2nd house, so you can certainly be enjoying resources, the things, finances, purchase, the earth stuff, the stuff that's derived from earth, right? Maybe even attracting some resources, some finances, maybe enjoying some investing, things like this. And it's a nice day around Friday, even Thursday, Friday, Saturday, for some of this sensual stuff. Maybe just enjoying the simple life. Again, maybe connecting with home or family, right? The roots in your life. All right, so Aries, that is the week in a nutshell. I think the most important thing here is this development of your mind, of your perspective, how you think, and then also how you see the world and how you see your place in the world. All right, the purpose, the life path, direction, all this is illuminating, and it's powerful in the sense that we all collectively will be accepting and facing some fears that will transform us and really shift our whole life path direction. All right, Aries, so have a fantastic week. Thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares. If you'd like a personal reading looking at your individual chart for the next 12 months, there's a link down in the comment section for that. But I'll see you all for the full moon report next week or this week, depending on when you're watching this. Take care. All right, Taurus, welcome to your weekly forecast. So let's get some context here with the placements. You have your ruler Venus in your sign. Very good here. I think it was last week you came out of what was a deeper time with all that 12th house energy about your alone time, your deeper psyche and all this. So this week your ruler, yeah, forward moving and in your sign. So it's a very good placement here. I think you're likely seeing that you're willing to take some action. You're willing to get out into the world, right? And pursue some of your goals maybe, or some of your personal needs, the things that are important to you, right? And so it can be very direct at this time, very assertive, independent. It's a great time for independence. But of course with Venus, it's also at the same time receptive, right? I think you're willing to cooperate with others. You have this charisma about you, this beauty about you at this time. Really good time actually for cosmetics, dress, salon, things like this. Venus is in the first house. We'd be feeling good, looking good, but connecting, right? Maybe even relationships are emphasized for you at this time. So all this stuff that has to do with you in the world, active perhaps, but pursuing the things that are important to you and enjoying things along the way, right, which is what your sign is about. Taurus, slow, steady, is just fantastic with your ruler here. So with that being said, this whole cycle is very much about your resources at this time. You've got the sun, you've got Mars still in your second house. This is the house of finance. It's the house of investment. It's the house of savings. It's the house of, most fundamentally, feeling like we can cultivate our values in life, whether they're material values or not. And so this sort of self-efficacy, this belief in ourselves, that we can pursue our values, this self-esteem, this self-reliance, right, is very strong at this time. And this is what's developing. So you're coming up to a high point with all of this, essentially this cultivation of your values here during the week's end, Saturday and Sunday, a full moon. And it's going to be in your 8th house, which is the house opposite the 2nd, which is also a house of value. But it's the house of everything non-material. all of our non-material values. And also not only our self-reliance, but also relying on others, right? And others' money, others' resources, sharing resources, right? So fundamentally what's taking place at the week's end is you're coming to some insight and some awareness about the deeper side to life and your own fears, especially with Pluto being so close to a conjunction with this full moon in your 8th house, right? Because Pluto already here over the past many years has been helping you strip away all the fears, right? All these patterns, these unhealthy patterns that are based on fear that have been through the process freeing you up. So now this part of the year, you've got another full moon here, but this time very close to Pluto, giving you the insight and awareness about what are these patterns? What are you breaking free from? What are these chains you're breaking? They might be, external or internal, mostly internal, because everything external is a reflection of the internal. So diving deep, right, within, and then through that, maybe taking the steps to, face these fears, break these chains. And a lot of it, I think, is about just getting more vulnerable, deeper with life, more vulnerable with life, so you can connect to what matters most, to what's really meaningful to you. And so the beauty of this is that this is a full moon in Sagittarius with Pluto, suggesting that there's this awareness about all this by week's end. And as the week unfolds, more of this awareness. But, and it's about what matters to you, truly matters. But it's going to require, again, facing the fears, right? Taking action and steps in the face of those fears, all right? With balance, with moderation, of course. This whole full moon is opposing up to Mars. I think where you're driven and motivated is certainly on the resources and the material life and all this. But now it's a time of balance. How can you continue to cultivate your material values while at the same time cultivate what is truly meaningful to you? And if it's more on the resource side of it, this could be balancing your self-reliance with relying on others a bit, right? Because we do live in an interdependent world. Even just economically, we're relying on others, to trade with and their goods and services. So, right, but that's just a general, even in our personal life, right? We have this interdependency, so it's a good time to cultivate that. And not only in terms of the reliance on others, but maybe it's a time of working with others' resources, others' finances, right? Maybe there's debts, maybe there's loans, maybe there's agreements or something that can be modified or changed, and maybe that you can free yourself from if they're like, for example, unhealthy debts or something like that. You could be becoming aware of this at this time. So very powerful at the week's end, but as we go through the week, this is more and more awareness of this, more awareness of your inner resource, right? Even what's coming to a forefront too is your natural gifts, your natural talents, all right, what you're good at, right? And, cultivating that in a way that's, again, pursuing what matters most to you and diving deep in the process to get there, because, the true core for all of us is layers deep, and it's layers deep of a lot of fear that we do have to be aware of, accept, and then again take action steps in the face of that. All right, so that's the most important things this week. Ruler in the first house, emphasis on your second, cultivation of the second and eighth. And some of the minor things we've got this week, Mercury is going to be squaring up to Uranus around Tuesday, Wednesday. Let's talk about this Mercury. Actually, Mercury going into your third house. This is the house of Mercury, of communication, of learning. You may find that your mind is getting more into practical things this early part of the week. Maybe you are picking up that book, doing some writing, some communication, right? Stuff like this, practical type of stuff that involves that, which is already the case collectively, but now more personally for you. Now, with that being said, here maybe around Tuesday, Wednesday, just kind of keeping your cool with all of that. The square up to Uranus, again, can make us reactive. So maybe, whatever that means for you personally, just, again, that centered path. I think what you really want is there's a lot of freedom here you need for your aspirations and maybe your community or contributing in some way. And so with balance and moderation, how can you, learn, communicate, develop your minds, this practical intelligence, while at the same time listen to this freedom that I think is really trying to come through, has been for many years, in terms of where you can give, contribute, and free yourself of, you know, being who you truly are in the world, you know, in terms of what you're contributing and giving back. All right, and then Wednesday through Thursday, the sun does trine Neptune, so you do have some positive energy here coming into the second house. Maybe there is some flow with the financial material stuff. Maybe it's involving your career in some sense. There's good harmony between these two areas. And at the same time, though, Jupiter is reminding you that there's a lot of opportunity to express yourself at this time. Maybe there's some steps you can take, some grounded steps to balance this, or really to cultivate these opportunities of self-expression, of passion, of interest, which Jupiter is helping you learn more about at this time. All right, so Taurus, have a fantastic week. Thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares with these videos. If you'd like a personal reading, there is a link down in the comment section for that, looking at the year ahead for you. But I will see you next week or this week, depending on when you're watching this, for the full moon report. All right, until then, have a great one. Take care. All right, Geminis, welcome to your weekly forecast. So let's have a look at these placements to get some context here. First of all, happy birthday for those of you watching for your sun signs who have your birthdays this week. But all of you do have all of this energy in your sign, the sun and Mars energy at the moment. So this whole cycle is about Gemini, right? So it's about you. This is a time of, you know, going into the world, taking action, taking steps, in order to cultivate, your goals, the things you want in life, your values. And so it's also a time of self-awareness that through taking action, you know, it's really that in order to learn more about ourselves or to learn more about anything, we really have to take action. You have to go into the world, take action, take steps, and it's just an excellent time to be doing that. Also a great time to be, again, setting intentions in terms of where you want to be, maybe 6 months from now or in the yearly sense, you know, for the next 12 months, because this is certainly the new beginning of the year for your sign. All right, so with that being said, the full moon is at the end of the week, and this is going to be in your 7th house. So Saturday, Sunday, I think there is more awareness about who you are, what you want, where you're headed, that kind of stuff, goals. And then, though, the balance is with relationships, the 7th house, right? I think there's a culmination here. If there's anything that some of you started anew about 6 months ago involving relationships, contracts, partnerships, maybe legal matters, one-to-one type of stuff, this is what's coming to a head. And I think it's generally about you and other, right? Your perspective of relationships. It's fundamentally what's coming ahead here. So with the full moon, there's now this great opportunity to do the status check, right? How are relationships going in your life, right? How is a relationship going? Maybe if it's on a romantic level, maybe it's a business partnership, maybe it's just generally, but I think fundamentally it's just your relationship with other. So with that being said, though, this conjunction up to Pluto means that over the past many years, you've been breaking a lot of patterns with relationships, all right? Your relationship with other. So what are some fears you can face here that involve relationships? Okay, whatever this means for you personally, what are some fears you can face here? Because this full moon being so close to Pluto is suggesting that there are fears to face and there are patterns to break through the facing of those fears, through the acceptance of those fears. Really diving deep into this. And this is mental, right? This is your sign. This is Sagittarius. This is insight. There's information, and it could be mental information, but there's also the fire behind it too, the life path insight about what are some of these fears and what can you do to accept the fear, the worst case scenario, or whatever it is the mind conjures up, all right, involving this fear, this root here, this fear we're facing with Pluto, that through accepting it, we then can take action and steps in the face of that fear. And that's really the power behind this, is when we take steps and action towards the face of those fears. So excellent weekend to do that. Excellent weekend for status check. And again, things can be coming ahead, about insight about relationships, and also insight about you and where you're headed generally this year, or just along your life path. All right, so with that being said, your ruler Mercury this week is shifting into your second house. So this will be placing quite a large emphasis on resources, finances, investments, savings, all right, all of the stuff that has to do with your values, material values usually. So the shift here will be early, Monday, Tuesday. You're likely going to notice you're probably thinking more about it, or you're working more with this realm. And there's a lot of, this is the theme here. So I think there's a lot of positive energy supporting you here, so you can cultivate your values, your material life, be grateful for what you have, maybe have more material security as well. What can you learn about, do, implement with Mercury, the routine and all of this to cultivate this area. And this area is going to get even more activated here in a week or two, once we have Mars and the Sun go into your second house. 2 weeks from now, we'll have a new moon in your second house, suggesting a whole new beginning around the corner about these things. But yeah, using that mind, using that practical intelligence of yours to develop your values, resources, and fundamentally learn more too about what are your natural gifts and natural abilities that will get you there. So with that being said, your ruler does square up to Uranus here Tuesday through Wednesday, though. So those 2 days, if there is erratic energy, scattered, anxious, impulsive, rash, anything like that, maybe it is involving these values, but fundamentally it is about you. And maybe it is linked with your career or your productive life in some sense. Listen to the freedom. But again, as I was saying in the general, take that balanced approach. We don't want to just react to things, right? So whatever it is, Uranus in your 10th house has been helping you have more freedom with your career, with your productive life. And there's something to listen to about that, and to take the slow and steady and grounded steps towards implementing more freedom with your career, and maybe in this case, freedom with you, generally speaking, whatever this sort of inclination is, Tuesday, Wednesday. Wednesday, Thursday, the Sun trines Neptune. You got positive energy coming into your first house from the 9th. I think you'll be quite easygoing about the life path, actually. There's good supportive energy for the 9th, where you're seeing the big picture, you're seeing potentials. That's good. But on that level, Jupiter in your 4th is saying that, yes, there are some certainly opportunities with your home life at this time, maybe with your health, to learn about your health. But it's about taking steps this week. The Sun square Jupiter does suggest taking action steps towards cultivating some of these opportunities with home or health, or whatever these roots are that are expanding for you at this time. Okay. Friday, Mercury, your ruler, sextiles Venus. I think even though Mercury is going to have that square early in the week, I think Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you're probably feeling quite connected, beautiful, feeling good, looking good. There's this beauty that you're connecting to. Maybe there's a flow with relationships. I think there's a lot of easygoingness with relationships at this time for you. You have Venus in your 12th house. All right. Venus actually likes to be in the 12th house, especially when she's in yours, because yours is Taurus, what she rules, the sign she rules. So you're enjoying this more, maybe alone time, this receptive time. Maybe things like meditation can actually be enjoyable at this time. Music, right? Psychology, spirituality, and all this can be certainly involving relationships too. Just that more receptive approach there. Compassion, understanding. So all of that's in very good harmony this second half of the week, and just all in all, feeling like you want to connect and enjoy some of this either relationship stuff and or receptive stuff in your life. All right, and then the weekend is that full moon. So that will be the high point of the week, the status check. Again, it's about you and relationships on two levels here, because you can't have one without the other. You know, in order to learn more about ourselves and grow and develop, we need obviously to have good relationships in our life, good relationship with other or specific relationships. And vice versa. In order to have good relationships, we have to have independence. We have to know who we are, what we want in life. Right? And so it's about balance of the two, but it's awareness of both, breaking some patterns, particularly in the relationship side of things, which is unlocking this new chapter here about really your life path, involving where you're headed, your independence, who you are, your goals, and of course those relationships. So Gemini, have a fantastic week. Thank you again for all of your likes and comments and shares of these weekly videos. If you'd like a personal reading, there's a link down in the comment section for that, looking at the year ahead for your personal chart. But I'll see you all this week or next week, depending on when you're watching this, for the full moon report. All right, have a great week. Take care. All right, Cancer, welcome to your weekly forecast. So yeah, a full moon, which is always important because this is your rule of the moon we're talking about. Suggesting that this week can be an energetic week for you, especially as the week unfolds, as we get closer to the week's end. There's more energy, there's more awareness, there's more insight. And although that being the case, you know, this is a low energy time for you in the sense that you do have the Sun and Mars in your 12th house. And this is the house of, you know, of non-energy, really. It's the house of rest. It's the house of tranquility, of peace, of getting our alone time, our meditative time. And so this is what this whole cycle is about. So as the week unfolds, you're gaining more insight, more awareness. And I think it's about the importance of, yes, finding this peace in your life. What can you do to let go, to surrender? And maybe what are some activities you can do? Because this full moon is going to be in your 6th house at the end of the week. And so this is the house of the work, right? In this context, the work that it takes to find peace. You know, like for example, meditation takes a tremendous amount of self-discipline and routine, right? Which is this 6th house. It requires the work. But maybe it's, you know, anything else that you might, if it's not meditation, whatever else that helps you find peace in life. And if it's psychological, you know, there's a lot you're learning about yourself on a very deep level right now. And that sun's shining the light here in on your psyche, right? On your unconscious. And so that's coming ahead. There is a lot of awareness about what are some things you can let go of. And it's not really particular things as much as it's feelings, right? And it's being present. It's letting go of the mind, really, especially in Gemini. Right? So that's what meditation helps us do, for example, is become more aware of the mind and allow the mind to flow versus us being caught up in the mind and trying to control the mind and all of that, which creates stress and, you know, anxiety and all this type of stuff. So this is a cycle where certainly the stress, the anxiety, the fears can come up, but it's for us to do that acceptance, which then does lead to the peace, the tranquility, the presence of the 12th. And so that's that side of it. But at the end of the week, you know, the fact that it's in your 6th is also suggesting that it's a high point with your work or your routine. or anything you do on a daily level, maybe your diets, regimens, things like this, especially if you've been involved with anything like this over the past 6 months. If 6 months ago you started something new with maybe your work, maybe your day-to-day routine or something like that, this is the high point with it now. And so it's a status check, there's insight, it's about both your spiritual well-being but also your day-to-day work, all right? And through that insight, through the status check, it's then letting some things go and shifting into a new direction. All right, it's not like a new moon, new direction, but it's a pivot. It's where through the insight, we realize some things are working, some things are not. We let go of what isn't and continue to cultivate what is here for you. So great time, week's end, to certainly do all the spiritual activity, meditate on this, be aware of it. But then there's also this momentum that's building, I think, for you to, get into the routine, get into the work, to structure the day-to-day, to again structure things so you can have more peace in your life. Now, to do this, it is likely going to require facing some fears. Pluto's been in your 6th house for a very long time, many years now. And so there's likely fears maybe regarding some of this stuff. Maybe it's about your work, your routine, right? Stuff like this. So it's becoming aware of the fear, accepting the fear, right? And through that, transitioning, transforming, and then taking the steps in the face of those fears to, yes, continue to cultivate whatever this life path stuff is that is shifting for you this week regarding your day-to-day, right? Regarding your work, regarding your self-improvement, your personal growth, personal development, finding solutions, right? Living in this world. It's what the 6th house is all about. And grounding the spirituality through embodiment of it, right? But through the work, self-discipline. So very powerful here. And I think for a lot of you, there will be a lot of insight, a lot of cultivation too with a lot of these things. And you can certainly continue to move that energy forward as we go into next week. So I do want to mention how Mercury is going into your sign this week. This will be early around Monday, Tuesday. I think although it is, again, still a spiritual time and confusing time if we try to figure things out, I think mostly the mental confusion, if you've had any over the past few weeks, is lifting. All right, Mercury comes out of the 12th house. He does not like to be there at all. And so our minds, it can be very confusing when he's in the 12th. But he's coming into your 1st. So as you come into this week, I think there's a little more clarity. And I think there's a little bit more focus too in the sense of who you are, where you're headed. Okay, so really good time for thinking actually when Mercury's in the 1st. Practical things, communication can be emphasized, learning, such as through reading books or courses or whatever, and also writing yourself, communicating, sharing your own insight. All right, so very good time for all mercurial things. Mercury is going to be squaring up to Uranus, though, here around Tuesday, Wednesday. So if there is any impulsiveness, as I was saying in the general, maybe it is about your life path. Maybe it is about wanting more adventure in your life or something like that. Stay as grounded as you can, of course, balanced, centered, so we're not reacting to anything. But listen to that. There is something Uranus is helping you find freedom with expanding your horizons that you can ground and implement in constructive ways. But by Friday, that Mercury then goes into easy aspect with Venus, a sextile, which means there can be perhaps a bit of flow with maybe friends or your network circles or community, anything like that, maybe with your home and family. And so, there's enjoyment to be had, I think, about your aspirations. Fundamentally, I think about future things, but maybe connecting with your network circles, things like that. Maybe technology, social media, innovation, new innovative ideas maybe, but there's just a connection here with this future-oriented stuff. All right, and then, Cancer, then Saturday, Sunday, that is the apex of all this, especially with your ruler at the full moon, at this opposition. How can you balance both the spiritual dimensions of life and the day-to-day practical dimensions of life? Because they're really just two sides of the same coin. That to have spirituality, we do have to embody it, right? We have to live in this world. And in order to go about our daily life, we have to find peace. We have to have acceptance. We have to surrender everything that's outside of our control so we can focus on what we do have control over. All right, Cancer, so have a fantastic week. Thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares with these videos. If you'd like a personal reading, there is a link down in the comment section for that, looking at the year ahead for your specific chart. But wishing you the very best, and I'll see you all very soon for the full moon report. Take care. All right, Leo, welcome to your weekly forecast. So let's have a look at the placements here. You've got your ruler, the sun, in your 11th house. You got Mars in your 11th house, and that's what this whole cycle is about. So the 11th house is the house of fundamentally our aspirations, all future things. So it's future things for us, such as our hopes and wishes for the future, our aspirations, right, what we want to cultivate. But also, too, it's the house of things larger than ourselves. All right, friends, community, network circles, contributing in some way. And so that's what this whole cycle is about. I think that's what's coming to a high point and some awareness here at the week's end, Saturday, Sunday, during the full moon. And so it's an excellent week for cultivating all of this, continuing to move this energy forward, which is about essentially your aspirations and things larger than yourself. Now, with that being said, the full moon is going to be in your 5th house at the week's end, which is your house, first of all, but this is the house of our self-expression. It's the house of creativity. It's the house of fun, passion, romance, children, right? Creativity, everything that is about having fun in life and expressing ourselves. And when it's in a full moon like this with the 11th, it's a reminder that these aspirations and this stuff that's larger than ourselves does require us to be passionate about what we're doing, to be expressing ourselves, to be having fun. Now, with that being said, though, Pluto is here in your 5th house, which is making all of this self-expression very deep and has been for many years now. That there might be some fears to express yourself. There might be fears to have fun, right? However this is playing out for you personally, there might be fears around these passions. So, whatever it is, it's really important at this time, I think, during this full moon, to be more aware of these fears, to dive deep, see where these fears are about your passions, about your self-expression, that you can fundamentally accept the fears of, to accept the worst case scenario, the worst case, fear that whatever the mind conjures up, that through the acceptance of it, it liberates us. Because what happens when we fully accept a fear is it frees us up, and then it frees us up to make the changes that we want to see with this area. In this case, your self-expression and the things that are close to your heart. Even some of you might just be your interests, your hobbies, things like this, but it is about passion. So, very powerful full moon. A lot of insight with this. And with the 11th house, it's a reminder that, yes, this is exactly what your aspirations need. Is for you to be expressing yourself, enjoying what you're doing. And vice versa. What your passions need is to have something larger than yourself. Because if everything is just concentrated on you having fun and your passions, and it's not giving, it's not contributing, it's not what the world needs, then it doesn't work, right? It just creates a black hole, creates a void here. So it's a balance of both, because they're two sides of the same coin. What you are passionate about is what the world needs. And what the world needs is for you to express yourself or to do what you're passionate about. And I say the world very generally. This might be for some of you, your friends, your community, your group or organization you're a part of. But it is the house of the collective. All right? So it's this balance and it's this awareness. And it's also the status check about how is your self-expression? How are these passions, interests, whatever it is? And how are these aspirations going? In fact, if 6 months ago you did start something new involving passions or interests or any of this 5th house stuff, it is the high point with this. There will be some culmination, there's some harvest for a lot of you. All right, but the full moon is a status check, so some things are harvesting and some things are not. And it's a time to let go of what hasn't worked with the self-expression, with this, passion, whatever this is, and continue to cultivate what is through the awareness, through the insight that you gain at this time. All right, and and if there was anything about a week or two ago, depending on when you're watching this, that started in you about your aspirations, about things larger than yourself, friends, network circles, whatever that is, that's also coming ahead for you to do a status check with. And again, face those fears to make the changes there in those areas. All right, so very powerful. Coming into the week, we do have Mercury going into your 12th house. So I think you're going to find that, although this is a time of future and thinking and all this, there's now this sort of behind the scenes energy at work. Mercury goes into the 12th, and I think there's going to be a lot of information coming through your dreams this week and next week. Or maybe you can be, doing meditation with your routine or your work and gaining insight through that. All right. Some of you doing some automatic writing, all of this stuff, which is about practically implementing spiritual things or intuitive things, right? To gain information, I think is going to be very important, because otherwise, if we're just thinking practically about things solely based on the, information, practical mental information, when Mercury's in the 12th, it can be very confusing. It can be very doubtful, uncertain. So it's important, I think, to listen to your inner guidance, meditation, automatic writing, it's dream journaling. This type of intuitive way of gaining information is where the clarity is. And it's never really clarity, but it's an intuitive clarity, right? It's an inner knowing. And so very important at this time, maybe even to getting some rest, relaxation, meditative time just can be more enjoyable, or you're seeing the value about that, and can actually help you with a lot of these aspirations and passions, really aspirations throughout the week that are unfolding during this Gemini cycle. All right, so along with that, Tuesday through Wednesday, Mercury will be squaring up to Uranus in your 8th. So as I was saying in the collective reading, there is this irritability or anxiousness, whatever it is, in the way you're experiencing this. So being centered as you can, remembering too that Uranus is helping you find freedom of vulnerability, of diving deeper with life, connecting to what matters most in life. So listening to that freedom, but sort of implementing this in grounded and stable sort of ways. But by around Friday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, that Mercury then sextiles up to Venus. So it lifts up here. And I think by the second half of the work week, you're probably seeing a bit of flow here. Maybe, you're more receptive or whatever through this development, but you're likely connecting to maybe some relationships through your career, or you're seeing the value and enjoyment of your career or your productive life. And there's just a bit of synergy between this, both the spiritual dimensions and the career productive dimensions as well, even with your communications probably flowing second half of the week. But let's talk about this middle part of the week. Your ruler is going to be trining up to Neptune, squaring up to Jupiter. So you're going to be easygoing, I think, Wednesday, Thursday, certainly. Ruler trine Neptune. Probably about relationships, one-to-one connections, things like that, but just generally. And maybe, again, there's just a bit of flow with whatever it is you're focused on with this future or aspiring related stuff. But that being said, it's also a reminder that there's opportunities here, really the surrounding months, this whole year with Jupiter and in Virgo. But right now this week, there are opportunities for your resources, right? Jupiter in your second house, finances, investments, savings. These material resources is really where things can be expanding for you. But this week, maybe there are some action steps you can take. And maybe there's some over or under optimism about this stuff. But through taking the square action, actually integrating, implementing, taking the steps to cultivate this greater material security or this greater self-reliance that is expanding for you at this time. And just generally too, when the ruler squares Jupiter, it's just important to stay balanced too. If you're feeling a bit over or under optimistic or something, yes, know that there are opportunities in life, but they take the steps there. All right, so that's the week generally, Leo. At the end of the week is the high point with this, with your ruler opposite the moon, which is the full moon. This balance between passion and and things larger than yourself, right? Integrating the two, facing the fears with that self-expression. Be very transformational here. All right? All these things relating to fifth house that, might come up, fear is coming up about, like you're becoming aware of. Use this time to, dive deep, see the fear, accept the fear, take the action step, right? In the face of that. And it's just another positive step towards your life path direction. All right, Leo, so have a fantastic week. Thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares with these videos. If you'd like a personal reading, there's a link down in the comment section for that, looking at the year ahead for your specific chart. So have a great week, Leo, and I'll see you all very soon for the full moon report. Take care. All right, Virgo, welcome to your weekly forecast. So let's look at these placements here. You've got this whole cycle about your 10th house of career, of your productive life, achievement, and success, whatever that means for you personally. So you got motivation here. Your motivation level should be quite strong, quite high at this time. Your focus, your energy, your vital life force with the Sun and Mars at the top of the chart. So yeah, great week to continue to cultivate whatever it is you're focused on involving the big picture stuff in your life or your productive life. With that being said, it's a high point at the end of the week with it, Saturday, Sunday, this status check and harvest of maybe some things you started a week or two ago involving the productive or big picture stuff. But it's also a status check about your home or your health. All right, so either home or health are often manifestations of the fourth house, but anything that's a foundation in your life, so structures, a root in your life. That's where the full moon's going to be. And it's a very powerful full moon. As I was saying in the general reading, it's very close to Pluto, which really emphasizes the Pluto side of it. That's been saying that over the past many years, your home and or your health life has been restructuring. And there has been fears here that you've been facing, accepting, and then taking steps towards in the face of those fears that is empowering you, that is transforming you, that is freeing you in this area. So now you have this yearly status check with this, but this time, this year, very close to Pluto, suggesting this awareness about this area, your home and or your health life. How is this area going? So with the full moon, it's a status check. Really good Saturday, Sunday. Do this examination of this area because you are going to be gaining some insight about this area, about the importance of your roots. All right, home, health are some examples. And the fears that are there, because they are there, as we all have in all areas of life. But this is the area Pluto is helping you strip away those fears, so to speak. All right, strip away those fears through the acceptance, through, again, taking the steps in the face of them. So with the insight you gain, right, dive deep and listen to your inner guidance. The fourth house is the house of intuition, of your body, your emotions, your soul communicating information to you, right? And so listening to that. And then, again, facing the fears to make the changes that you're guided to make, if you're guided to make them, right? So very powerful there. And it's also a reminder, too, that it's a balance, as all full moons are, between, in this case, the roots and structures of your life, like home and your personal life and your health, but also with the productive life, that we really can't have one without the other. That in order for us to achieve, have success, career success, whatever it is, productive, legacy, we do have to have good personal life. Got to have good home, good health, got to be in good health. So about making the changes there to facilitate that, but also vice versa. What can you continue to cultivate with your career and productive life? Because that's likely where the motivation is with the Sun and Mars up here, so that you can enjoy your personal life. Because, you know, we can't have good personal life if we don't have something to strive for, something to achieve, to produce in this world, right? So it's a balance of both. It's an integration of both, maybe facing some fears with both, but the status check of both. How's the career productive life? How's your home personal life, your health, right? And what are the fears you can accept to then make the changes with this area for this now shift to our life path collectively here. I think mostly the fears are going to be involving the personal life, but it could certainly be also about the career and productive stuff as well. All right, so with that being said, Mercury, your ruler, is going into the 11th house right at the beginning of the week, Monday, Tuesday. You've got now an emphasis for, this week and next on your aspirations, perhaps, or maybe some of you be connecting with your friends or your network circles, or contributing to something larger than yourself, or some of you may be getting into technology, innovative things, progressive things, humanitarian stuff, global stuff, maybe collective stuff. So whatever this is where your mind is. It's also suggesting a foundation that's being laid for the new moon, which will be in about 2 weeks. So around the corner, there will be some new beginnings with all this. But right now, I think it's great to learn about this area, cultivate it. What are these future aspirations of yours? And when it's relating to the career, this is also the 2nd from the 10th, which means that a lot of you could be developing maybe income from your career at this time, or thinking more in those terms, right? And what is the value? What are your true values with your career? What is it you enjoy in all of this? And then some of you may be doing some networking, right? Some connecting there to facilitate your career just in general, enjoying a bit of connection, friends, networking, right? It's really what it's about. So yeah, that's the shift there. Mercury, your ruler, is going to be squaring up to Uranus here around Tuesday, Wednesday. So for your sign in particular, and Geminis, especially if you have Gemini prominent in your chart as well, try, if you do feel that there's a scattered energy or impulsive, anxious, anything like that, it's again being centered as we can with that. It may have to do with maybe wanting to break free or have some freedom or something like that involving relationships. Okay, or something to do with someone else, or a one-on-one connection or something. So again, listen to the freedom. Uranus is helping you have more freedom in your relationships, which is very important to you at this time, but in a way that's constructive, balanced, grounded. Again, it also may be involving the friends, the network circles, or those aspirations, just being grounded with whatever this sort of wanting us, where we're wanting to react, right, or impulsive, or just anxious about. This early part of the week. But as we get into around Friday, your ruler then is in very good aspect up to Venus, eases up off of that square from Uranus. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you're probably feeling good, looking good. You got a bit of beauty, connection, maybe enjoyment in relationships, maybe enjoyment in general, enjoying the simple pleasures of life, resources, maybe an opportunity there on some level. And Venus in your 9th house has really been helping you see the value of adventurousness, of expanding your horizons a bit, right? So whatever that is, that's kind of free-spirited for you. Maybe it's some of you are enjoying some philosophy at this time. Some of you may be a bit of hiking, going out, expanding your horizons in rural lands, or, expansive lands, right? So all of this is very enjoyable, and I think that'll be emphasized around Friday for you. And just a bit of beauty, enjoyment, expansion, value, and support going into that 11th house of aspirations, connecting, networking, right? That type of thing. All right. And then the week's end, Saturday, Sunday, full moon in the 4th. Status check with the home life, family, health, things like that. What are some fears here that are coming up you can take steps towards to cultivate both that as well as your productive life, your achievement and success? Because the past and the future, they're just two sides of the same coin. 4th house past, 10th house future. Personal life, career life, productive, right? It's one and the same. Can't have one without the other. I also want to mention too, Jupiter's in your 1st house, which will be squaring up to the sun about midweek, Wednesday, Thursday. So, know there's opportunities, right? There's still opportunities for you to be independent in your life. I think that's playing a big role. Independence, yeah, expanding your horizons, thinking big, seeing potentials, but maybe taking some steps and actions towards that midweek, right? To actually turn those possibilities into a reality and be patient with them too with the square, right? All right, so Virgos, have a great week. I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares with these videos. If you'd like a personal reading, there's a link down in the comment section for that, looking at the year ahead for your specific chart. Sending you all my very best, and I will see you all very soon for the full moon report. Take care. All right, Libra, welcome to your weekly forecast. So let's have a look at these placements. You have your ruler Venus in your 8th house. I think it is a deep time for you, but also an expansive time. Also a time of your life path, of expanding your horizons. You've got the Sun and Mars in your 9th house of adventure, of that life spirit. So, but speaking here in terms of your ruler in the 8th, yes, I think it's still great to dive deep, to get vulnerable with life. Vulnerable in general, understanding more about yourself on a deeper level, a deeper dimension, and through this, seeing if there are any patterns that you can break in your life. I think this full moon is really about breaking patterns, which is the Pluto side to this. Pluto's in a very close conjunction with this full moon. But because your ruler's in the 8th, yeah, I think it's already kind of been that theme. So this is just another step in that direction of you stripping away the fears, facing the fears, accepting the fears, or the fear itself, the worst case, whatever it is, all right? And through that, once we fully accept the fear, it frees us up, it liberates us. And this is this constant transformation you're doing right now of this 8th house, this deeper exploration, getting vulnerable with life, with relationships, etc. So the 8th house is also the house of shared resources for those of you who are expecting or involved with anything on that level. For the next few weeks, you still got Venus here in Taurus in your 8th, helping you, cultivate this area in terms of where you can have good interdependency, rely on others in healthy ways, share resources, whatever that might mean for you personally. So looking at this whole cycle, this Sun, Mars in your 9th house, and this whole lunar cycle starting in your 9th, this whole week is very much about you expanding your horizons, right? Again, it could be philosophy, higher learning, university for some of you. Maybe some of you travel or matters relating abroad, things like this. So great week for emphasizing it, great week for cultivating it. And by week's end, Saturday, Sunday, doing the status check, right? How is, you'll likely notice that there are some things that you're harvesting involving this 9th house, the house of the life path, of spirit, of opening our horizons, thinking big, seeing potentials, tapping into that adventurousness. So things are harvesting, but there's an awareness here. And it's an awareness of that to a degree, to your life path, where you're headed, how you can cultivate more of that expansive energy in your life, but also too, of the practical. And this is where the full moon actually is in your 3rd house. the house of the mind. I think over the past many years, Pluto has been helping you strip away a lot of the fears that the mind conjures up, right? Or maybe about things like communication, intelligence, practicality, reading, writing, communication, learning, right? So, but fundamentally it's your mind that's been going through this transformation. So now you have this very good awareness with this full moon so close to Pluto in your third, helping illuminate your mind, your practical mind, both minds. Your left, this is the left side of the brain, this is the right side of the brain. The ninth house is the right, third house is the left. And this is the practical and the possible. So you're gaining an awareness of both what is practical and what is possible, and how to implement both. And that is the key with this full moon, I feel like. Any opposition between the third and the ninth is that what is possible, what is actually possible, because not everything is possible, right? It's just in this world, as physical beings, not everything is possible. But what is actually possible is what's practical, right? Is what is actually rational. It can be implemented, worked on, developed in the physical world, which is what the third house is about. All right, it's the left side of the brain. It's how things actually work. It's science. It's rationality. It's reason. It's that understanding of the practical aspects of our life and of life in general. But vice versa, we don't want to just get caught up into just the practical and rational and miss the fact that there is all these possibilities and potentials, and that we don't know what is actually possible. We don't know specifically what's possible in this life, in this world, in this universe, physically, right? So opening our minds, being open-minded, understanding that we don't have it all figured out. We don't understand everything. And so being open to new possibilities is what our practical mind needs, is what practicality needs, right? In this example, what is practical, what is actually practical, in order to get there, it's about expanding our mind to the possible, right? To grow, to expand that practicality. So it's about both, right? And I think this is the axes of understanding. It's the axes of perspective. As I said, you're gaining more awareness of your mind, how you perceive things, your perception, your belief system, how the mind does manifest. Not everything the mind thinks about manifests, but in order to manifest, we do have to be open to what is, to those things. If we're not, aware of those things that, we want to manifest or what could manifest, then we don't see it. And for all intents and purposes, it doesn't exist. So our perception is at least half of the equation when it comes to manifestation. How we think about things, how we perceive things. And this is what this full moon is illuminating. So there's likely some fears, though, as I said, with, this mental or whatever it is, and these possibilities, right? And so facing fears at this time, specifically around Saturday, Sunday, accepting the fears, whatever the fear is, if there's one, or whatever the mind conjures up with, accepting the worst case scenario, whatever it is, will liberate us. It frees us up to then pursue this life path direction, this shift, which is this full moon going into next week. All right, so let's look at some of these minor things going on. You got Mercury going into your 10th house, Monday through Tuesday. I think your mind will likely go towards productive things more than likely. Maybe your career, achievements, success, your legacy, productive stuff. So very good mental mind here, practicality with all this big picture stuff. That being said, Tuesday, Wednesday, Mercury does square up to Uranus. So if you are feeling any irritability or rashness about maybe some of that productive stuff, again, it's about taking the centered approach, right? And if you're feeling like breaking free, maybe it's about your work or your routine in some way with Uranus in your 6th. Again, centeredness. Listening to the freedom, though, Uranus is helping you find more freedom with your day-to-day, with your work and your routine. But again, implementing that in healthy ways. But as we get into about Friday, that Mercury then is an easy aspect up to Venus, giving a bit of synergy with you, actually. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, probably feeling quite communicative, quite practical, actually. It's just an opening for that. All right, your mind's sharp, your mind's good. Maybe it is about, again, bigger picture things. And yeah, and it's supporting all this transformation you're doing as well. Maybe you'll be learning more about some of this deeper stuff in life that you are accepting at this time that is freeing you up, breaking those chains, helping you connect to what matters most in life. And get your spiritual time right. You got Jupiter in your 12th house. You should have plenty of opportunity to get your alone time, your meditative time, behind the scenes energy. You got Sun squaring Jupiter, so it's a good week to take some action steps maybe towards getting some peace and rest, you know, presence in your life with Jupiter there. All right, so Libras, have a fantastic week. If you found this video helpful, please like, comment, and share. And I do appreciate all of you who have been supporting this channel and these videos for however long you've been with this channel. But sending you all the very best. And if you'd like a personal reading, there's a link down in the comment section for that, looking at the year ahead for your specific sign. But have a great one, Libra, and I'll see you very soon for the full moon report. Take care. All right, Scorpio and Ophiuchus, welcome to your weekly forecast. So let's look at your ruler Mars in your 8th house. I think it's the last week. Yeah, last week Mars will be in your 8th house. But this whole cycle is still about the 8th. The 8th house is about transformation. It's about change. It's about facing fears. It's about getting vulnerable with life, vulnerable with ourselves, so that we can become more aware of what truly matters most in life, and you know, free ourselves from anything that is holding us back from, you know, really connecting to what matters most to us and connecting to our being. So the sun's shining that light in your 8th house. There's a lot being exposed, both about yourself, obviously, but also about life in general. Maybe what are normally hidden things in life, you're exposing at this time and hopefully accepting, and through that acceptance, this continuous transformation process. I think the major transformation will be next week, once Mars goes over this cusp, your 9th house cusp, into your 9th, helping you see the big picture, you know, open horizons, philosophical stuff, which comes after the 8th. But with that being said, Mercury early this week is going into your 9th. So I think although it's, again, deep and there's all this transformation that's occurring, it's this alchemical process, you're also developing intimacy and trust, you know, with maybe relationships or with yourself, but with life as well. But with all that, Mercury in your 9th is helping you see the big picture. So your thinking could be very philosophical, very open-minded, right? Big picture here. And so use that, right? Because the 9th house is where we see the overall life, the overall life path from the top-down perspective. And because we're seeing things top down, we don't get so deep into it, right? We were able to see the whole picture and how life is always changing and moving, and like all this stuff is just one small piece of the much larger, you know, pie or puzzle, whatever, the bigger picture. So see that, use that mind, that expansive mind you have, philosophical open-mindedness, even adventurous mind. with Mercury shifting into your ninth. So as we go through the week, there is going to be more of this awareness, more of this insight about, again, the deeper dimensions of what matters most to you in life. What are some patterns you can break, some fears you can accept? And this full moon is going to be very close to Pluto, which is both of yours modern ruler. You know, Pluto is said to rule Scorpio, and in that case, Fucus as well, in modern times. So you have what I think is going to be a very strong awareness about yourself with Pluto, right? Illuminating yourself. And it's going to be, I think, a lot, you know, with the house, I think a lot of it's going to be about your values. What is it you truly value in life? And the importance of cultivating your values, and even the importance of cultivating the material realm, finances, investments, savings, you know, these earthy resources. That's where the full moon is, because this full moon, as all are, is in opposition, and it's involving the 8th and the 2nd. That although this is a time of depth, intimacy, transformation through the acceptance, is suggesting this now awareness about the importance of the material aspects of life, that we can't have one without the other, that in order to connect to the spiritual dimensions of the 8th, we do need to ground ourselves. We do need to have good, you know, roots, material roots, right? Structures with our maybe material finances, resources, things like this, but also have self-reliance, right? Cultivate our values in life, believe that we can cultivate our values, right? And yeah, and all of this simply, even quite literally, connecting to earth, right? To nature, all right? Trees, the plants, the animals, going out there and actually connecting, grounding yourself, maybe even barefoot, you know, really connecting to Mother Earth grounds us and helps us with the spiritual process. So I think there's an awareness here, Saturday, Sunday. It's about the important, I think there's a lot of awareness about what truly matters to you most in life. But then there's also this awareness about the importance of resources, right? Connecting to earth, even being grateful for what you have in life, enjoying the simple life, relaxation, massage, hot baths, good meals, beautiful things, plants around you, right? Beauty around you, all right? This type of stuff. So that's the full moon. And if there's been anything about 6 months ago that you did start involving resources, finances, investments, anything like that, that can certainly be coming ahead here, okay? But now the Pluto side to this is that, as I said, there's fears, right? And so I think the fears are really pointing towards your values, like your ability to cultivate your values. Maybe there's fears about your self-reliance, right? Standing on your own 2 feet to cultivate your values in life. Maybe there's fears about loss of resources, of values. And so as you accept the worst case scenario, whatever the mind conjures up, whatever the fear is, you accept the fear itself. It frees us up, it liberates us. This was a big role last week. You know, I talked about this last week when your ruler was opposite Pluto, but now this full moon is aspecting it, giving the awareness of it, giving the status check of it, and this transition of where once you fully accept these fears, you can then take the steps and actions to continue this cycle of implementing whatever these changes are that you become aware of after you fully accepted the fear. Once you've liberated yourself from the fear, we then become aware of what we want to do, what actions we need to take in the face of those fears to, yes, cultivate the things that matter most. And I think a lot of this is about, again, resources, maybe finances, investments for some of you, and also equally what matters most, the spiritual. Vulnerability, relying on others. Self-reliance is great, but we have to, of course, rely on others. We do rely on others. We live in an interdependent world, right? And relying on others is great, but we need our own self-reliance as well. Balance there. Balance with spiritual, earth, groundedness. All right, so yeah, very powerful full moon. It's also going to be opposing up to your traditional ruler, Mars. So there is this balance needed as well. And I was talking about this last week also, how, you know, if you are feeling like you want to, you know, if you're feeling reactive, if you're feeling like, you know, there's like an impulse or frustration or something bottlenecking, you know, this is about taking the slow, balanced approach to making the changes. But I think as you do the inner work of accepting the fears, it's going to allow you to do that very healthfully and very naturally, because it's usually when we're resisting the fear that it creates the bottlenecking energy there with Mars. And I think that was probably more so last week when Mars was actually in an opposition up to Pluto, but it is certainly giving you some awareness about that. And again, about yourself, right? Your modern ruler, Pluto. All right, so there's this whole new awareness about who you are, where you're headed, what the life path is, and how it plays into these material and non-material values of life. Material values and the meaningful stuff in life. All right, so some of the other things we got this week, Mercury in your 9th, you got the top-down perspective. Venus is still in your 7th, so I think it's a great time for enjoying your relationships. You can see the value there, the beauty there, the connections, maybe even a bit of easygoingness in those one-to-one connections. You got Mercury sextile Venus around Friday, giving good synergy between, again, your adventurous side and those one-to-one connections. Just an opening there on some level. That Mercury does square up to Uranus Tuesday, Wednesday, as I was saying. So if you're feeling a bit rash or impulsive, maybe about your self-expression or creativity or something like that, passion or something, listen to that. Uranus is helping you express yourself in a much freer way to be yourself, right? But if there's anything reactive, do be aware of that to ground it. Listen to the freedom and take it one step at a time there. And then Wednesday through Thursday, the sun does turn up to Neptune, so there is support here, certainly for getting deeper. But there is, I think, this pivot, and this is part of the full moon too with Jupiter, this T-square, is that this is a week of a reminder that, yes, there are opportunities here for you involving things larger than yourself, involving maybe your friends, network circles, contributing in some way. Or if it's more personal, maybe it's about your personal hopes and wishes for the future. This is where things are expanding for you. And so it's a week of taking steps towards that with the square. What can you actually implement and take action towards to seize those opportunities? But be patient with it. Again, squares are about patience. Jupiter is in this yearly cycle is forming this T-square. So it's like at the halfway point of the year with all this. And just take it one step at a time there. All right, so Scorpio and Ophiuchus, have a fantastic week. Thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares of these videos. If you'd like a personal reading, there's a link down in the comment section for that, looking at the year ahead for your specific chart. But wishing you all the very best week, and I'll see you very soon for the full moon report. Take care. All right, Sagittarius, welcome to your weekly forecast. So let's look at these placements here. You have the Sun and Mars in your 7th house. This whole lunar cycle is about your 7th house. And this is a house of relationships, one-to-one connections. You likely had a new beginning here about a week or two ago, depending on when you're watching this. And this is a week of more of this cultivation, especially by Saturday and Sunday. You could be at the high point with whatever this new beginning was about either your perspective of relationships, maybe a whole new relationship or partnership, something like that. Some of you too, maybe legal matters, contracts, business dealings, things of that nature. But fundamentally, your perspective of other, which is what the 7th house is about. So you have a full moon in your sign here Saturday, Sunday, conjunct Pluto, who's been in your sign for the past many years. So this is certainly going to be an illuminating week, specifically around the weekend. And I think a lot of this is about you, where you're headed, where you have been perhaps heading over the past 6 months. If, 6 months ago, you feel like that was a new chapter of your life, you started anything new there, a new shift along your life path. This is certainly the halfway point, the harvest point for a lot of that. But it's also the status check. So you're going to notice some things are working for you, some things are not, right? Both about yourself and about relationships, right? It's going to be involving both areas. But I think fundamentally with this full moon is it's about yourself here, this awareness about the importance of having independence, pursuing your personal needs in life, cultivating, you in the world, taking steps towards the things you value and enjoy, and through action, learning more about yourself in the process. So lots of awareness about yourself, insight, etc. And I think a huge part of this is going to be about the fears that you've been relinquishing through the acceptance of those fears for these past many years. And with this full moon like so close to Pluto, I think it's going to illuminate these fears. This is fears of you. This is fears of identity. Fears relating to who we are, what we want. Fears relating to our goals. Fears relating to taking action and steps. Again, to cultivate the things that we want. So there's a deep side to this, and I think there's a fiery side to this, especially in your sign. And you are a fire sign to add to that. But I think the deeper you're willing to go here, because I think the fears are certainly coming up. I mean, generally, collectively, there's things surfacing at this time. So by you accepting those fears and then taking steps in the face of whatever these fears are, that are steps that you're guided to take, even though the fear is there. And taking the steps in the face of the fear is making this a very transformational time. A very transformational year, you could say, because we always do have a full moon in your sign, but not always is it this close to Pluto on a yearly sense. So it's really giving us this opportunity, and in your sign, to strip away all the fears through accepting of the fears. Accepting the worst case scenario, whatever the mind conjures up, accepting the fear in and of itself is what liberates us, frees us up to then make the changes that we do want to see. So this is also a reminder that where there is self, there is, of course, also relationship, right? That although this is an awareness of you and all this, we don't have sense of identity or self without relationships in life. And so that's what this cycle has been about, is about cultivating your one-to-one connection. So I think it's an excellent time to do a status check there as well. How is the relationships going? Put energy into them, right? You got Mars there, you got a lot of directness, you got focus, you got energy through them. Balancing the two. How can you cultivate your personal needs while at the same time cooperating, working with others in your life, or whatever that is, or cultivating your relationships in general, and vice versa, right? In order to cultivate your relationships, we do need this greater sense of self, of what we want, who we are, what we want, where we're headed. And in this case with Pluto, to strip away through acceptance of these fears, to transform the self, to free yourself up, to really be who we are when the fear is not in play. That's what Pluto is helping you do, is strip away the fears so you can be more of who you are, more of your true self, you could say. All right, so excellent weekend, excellent week in general. excellent week in general to cultivate your relationships, one-to-one connections, but certainly an excellent week for doing the status check about who you are, where you're headed, and what transformations you can make and actions you can take in the face of any fears. All right, so along with that, we do have Mercury going into your 8th house early in the week, Monday, Tuesday. There will likely be this shift of probably wanting to think about, get into more of the deeper dimensions of things, maybe involving relationships. You know, maybe there's more matters relating to trust in relationships or vulnerability, you know, acceptance, maybe in terms of shared resources, whatever it is. But I think it is on a relationship level, but generally, I think it's an excellent time to get deep, right? Become more aware of yourself on that deeper dimension through being vulnerable with yourself and life, and just learning more about, you know, these things that are normally under the surface that we can bring to the surface for us to again accept, break some patterns with, which is very much relating to the same stuff Pluto is about. But Mercury's going to help you learn about this and do all this very tangibly and practically. It could even be about your career too, on some level, about transformation, change there. And that's the other thing. Midweek, the sun will be squaring up to Jupiter in your 10th. So there are opportunities for your career, you know, these surrounding months, Jupiter and Virgo. I think there's plenty of opportunities to expand your career or your productive life, achievement, success. But in this part of the year, this lunar cycle is squaring up to Jupiter as a reminder that sometimes we do have to take the actual steps and action to seize those opportunities, and be patient with the whole thing. The square is about patience. So know that there's opportunities, but maybe they're taking time, or they need to, you know, there's some grounded steps that need to be taken to, again, continuously expand with achievement, success, and the productive things in your life. Then Friday, that Mercury does sextile to Venus, so there is, I think, synergy, probably more easygoingness with the deeper dimensions. But it's also a flow here with the fact that Venus is in your 6th, helping you enjoy maybe some routine, maybe enjoy your work, maybe connect with relationships through your work or through your day-to-day on some level. But enjoying it nonetheless, seeing the value of your work or whatever you do in your routine, right? And enjoying it. So connecting there with Mercury sextile Venus is a good synergy around Friday. Then yes, Saturday, Sunday, this awareness of self, transformation through the acceptance of whatever these fears are that are maybe loss of self, loss of identity, not, you know, any fears relating to who we are, where we're headed. And yeah, through that acceptance, very transformational. It's not us identifying with what we're doing. It's not the ego identifying with what we're doing and who we are. It's life flowing through us once we've accepted these fears. All right, Sagittarius, so have a fantastic week. Thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares with these videos. If you'd like a personal reading, there is a link down in the comments section looking at the year ahead for your specific chart. But sending you all the very best, and I'll see you very soon for the full moon report. Take care. All right, Capricorn, welcome to your weekly forecast. So you've got a full moon in your 12th house this week's end, Saturday, Sunday. This is the house of spirituality. It's the house of finding more peace in life. It's the house of meditation, yoga, spiritual activities. Really good time to do that. Understanding more about ourselves psychologically, right? Diving deep with the psyche, the unconscious. And this full moon being very close to Pluto does suggest that over the past many years, there's been this transformation of the unconscious, of the stripping away of these fears, of these traumas, right? These deep psychological things that do prevent us from having more peace in our life. So the full moon gives awareness, and I think Saturday, Sunday, it's going to illuminate this 12th house, illuminate your unconscious, illuminate your spiritual self, give you a lot of insight here. Again, I think it's relating to the life path and the destiny, which is Sagittarius, and our purpose. And here for you, what maybe you can do or cultivate in your life that is going to help you have more of this peace, more of this acceptance. So yeah, some examples are meditation, spiritual activities, yoga, sleep, rest, working behind the scenes. I think it's more of an active time for you. I think it's a busy time for you, in fact, with all this 6th house energy of your work and your routine right now. But around Saturday and Sunday, you know, this insight about this importance of finding this peace through really surrendering, letting go of everything outside of your control, being present, right? Observing the mind. All of this is you know, it's a high point with this. There should be a lot of positive energy for it. And again, that insight should also assist this. And it's just a good time. Do the status check. How is your peace? How is your spiritual life? And what can you do to continuously cultivate it, maybe in the face of some of these fears, these deep traumas, these wounds that Pluto has been helping you transform. And maybe through meditation, you know, accepting these fears or accepting these deep wounds, these deep psychological things, becoming more aware of them through awareness, but also intuitively. And it's the acceptance. That's really the key with Pluto, is the acceptance. Because what happens when we accept the fear is it's no longer in control of us. And it frees us up and it liberates us here. And this could be spiritual liberation for you. Spiritual peace. I don't want to blow it out of proportion, but this is the last house of the Zodiac. This is the house where we come full circle back around to finding true peace in our life. Right? Our spiritual beingness. So yeah, powerful here because it's Pluto. It's for all of us and it's very deep for you. And that's why I think the meditation and the rest and all this is going to help unlock it, because it is in the 12th house, which is, you know, it's through these things, through the spiritual life that we connect here. So with all that being said, as I said, I think there's a busy time. You've got the Sun and Mars in your 6th house, or just you're focused on your routine. A lot of you are focused on your work, your day-to-day, whatever you do on that level. Self-improvement, diet regimens could be great for motivation, drive, again, focus. And that's also coming to the high point, right? Especially if about a week or two ago, depending on when you're watching this, you started something new with that new moon in your 6th. New with your work, new with your routine, your day-to-day, health, diet, perhaps. And so, yeah, you come up to a high point here, week's end. It's a great week for cultivating this day-to-day. And again, this week's end, doing a status check with how you can really bring in the two. How you can, yes, cultivate your work and routine, but again, also have peace and tranquility. This is the opposition, that we can't actually have spiritual peace if we're not engaged in the world, if we don't have good structure, good self-discipline, time management, energy management. Like, things need to be structured, and we need to have self-discipline in order to do things like meditate. And our life has to be structured so we can get rest in all of this. But it's both. All right. So the other way is that with your routine, bringing in a bit of presence in your everyday, more acceptance, right? Because they're really just two sides of the same coin. This is everything we do have control over in the 6th house, our day-to-day and our immediate environment. And the 12th house is everything we don't have control over, right? The unconscious, the life path, the divine process, everything outside of our control. So through surrendering everything outside of your control, it helps you focus on what you do have control over, which is your personal growth and development, how you respond to things, how you live your life, and vice versa. In order to live your life, to develop your work and routine, we do have to let go of everything outside of our control. All right, so yeah, very powerful. And, you know, this is going to be coming to the high point Saturday, Sunday. A couple of things I want to mention too is that Mercury is going into your 7th house right at the beginning of the week, Monday, Tuesday. So you could find that you may be thinking more about relationships, or you're wanting a bit more harmony and cooperation in your life. Maybe there's more communication in your one-on-one connections. You could be enjoying that, in fact, thinking, sharing ideas, All right, that type of stuff very much being emphasized for you. And even inside learning about relationships is fantastic at this time. Tuesday, Wednesday, that Mercury does square up to Uranus. So anything involving any of that is that you're feeling, again, rash or impulsive with or something like that, do be aware of it. Again, we want to respond in a balanced sense if that energy is there, erratic, anxious, whatever that is. I think it might be involving communication, actually, or your mind, or practical things, or business or trade, or something like that, with Uranus in your third. Listen to that Uranus. Uranus is helping you find freedom of communicating freely, all right, and thinking freely in terms of your true self, and getting involved with things in your everyday that is free, but again, with balance, moderation, and constructive energy. Wednesday, Thursday, that Sun does square up to Jupiter as a reminder that Jupiter is helping you expand your horizons, you know, and so that's where the opportunities are. Adventure, travel, philosophy, university, higher learning, any of those things that, or anything in general that's about opening your mind and expanding. That's where the opportunities are for these surrounding months. And this lunar cycle is squaring up to it, suggesting that maybe there are some steps we can take, maybe some things we can be patient with, in fact, to continuously tap into that open mind and adventurous spirit. Friday, Mercury does sextile up to Venus, so there is a bit of opportunity here maybe to express yourself. Maybe you're enjoying a bit of self-expression this week, in fact. All right, fun, playfulness, creative energy. Venus is in the 5th. All right, yeah, enjoying maybe hobbies, interests as well. So self-expression. And yeah, around Friday, a bit of synergy there, maybe with you expressing yourself in your relationships, all right, your one-to-one connections, and vice versa. All right, and then week's end is that full moon, which is illuminating, again, the spiritual dimensions and the day-to-day, and how they're just two sides of the same coin. It's about grounding, living our spirituality, embodiment, peace in our everyday life, and doing the work to have peace. All right, Capricorn, so have a fantastic week. Thank you for all of your likes, comments, and shares with these videos. It's very much appreciated. If you'd like a personal reading, there's a link down in the comment section for that, looking at the year ahead for your specific chart, because you know these signs do change depending on when your actual ascendant is. But yeah, have a great week, Capricorn, and I'll see you very soon for the full moon report. Take care. All right, Aquarius, welcome to your weekly forecast. So looking at this lunar cycle, you got a full moon in your 11th house, Saturday, Sunday, suggesting this. Now, cultivation of everything in your life that's either about your aspirations and or your network circles or things greater than yourself, right? So, you know, friends, community, things like this. So, first of all, if there's been anything over the past 6 months that you have started anew, involving either your future hopes and wishes, involving your friends or your community or things larger than yourself, right? This is the high point. And so an excellent weekend to do a status check with how these things in your life are going, right? And on that same token, it's also a high point with where this new cycle has just begun about a week or two ago, depending on when you're watching this, which was in your 5th house of self-expression. In fact, with your Sun and Mars in your 5th house, it is an excellent time to be expressing yourself. It could be very direct there, in fact. Maybe enjoying some hobbies, interests, creative pursuits, anything you're passionate about, or anything close to your heart that you enjoy, playful energy, lighthearted energy. This is what the cycle is about. And that's also what's coming to a high point Saturday, Sunday, is anything new that you've started here. It's more of a short-term new, right? It's a week or two. It's a new, that's part of this whole lunar cycle, this monthly cycle. But the yearly cycle involving your aspirations and things larger than yourself is what is also coming ahead too. So this full moon, as all full moons are, they're oppositions. And so it is about balance and integration. It's as you come to this awareness about your aspirations in life and, your community or whatever it is, contributing, it's about seeing how the world and your aspirations need you to be expressing yourself. This energy needs, an outlet through you enjoying what you're doing, you expressing yourself and doing things because you're passionate about it. You find it fun. And vice versa. In order to have fun and to enjoy passions in life, and this fire energy, we do have to give and contribute, right? We do have to be a part of something larger than ourselves, whether it's our friends, whether it's global, whether it's sometimes more personal in the sense of striving for our future hopes and wishes. Our future hopes and wishes in and of themselves need us to be enjoying what we're doing. Right, and that's the 5th house. So it's a balance of both. They're really just two sides of the same coin. And this is certainly an excellent time to do a status check of both the future and the passion. Right, greater than self and the self, passion of self, what we enjoy, what the world needs, and what we enjoy. So Saturday, Sunday, that's when that's going to be emphasized. But really all week long, it's really good to, yes, express yourself, have a bit of fun, creativity, hobbies, interests, things like this with the Sun and Mars in your 5th house. With that being said, we do have some other things going on. Mercury is going into your 6th right at the beginning of the week, Monday, Tuesday. So you may find that your mind goes more towards routine or your work or your day-to-day. It's actually Mercury's house, so it's really good for these things, really good for self-improvement, personal growth, time management, energy management, communication, maybe busyness with your work and routine, things like that. Really good outlet for that mind. And just really grounding that routine there. Along with that, that Mercury is going to be squaring up to Uranus in your 2nd. So Tuesday, Wednesday, these 2 days, if you do feel any erratic energy, impulsive energy, maybe involving that, but maybe about finances or the resources or your sense of self-worth. Uranus has been helping you have more freedom in your life when it comes to, you cultivating your resources and your material security and all this. But it's about sort of responding with that in healthy and balanced ways without doing anything rash or impulsive. Just being aware of that but at the same time, listening to the freedom in terms of how you can take steps towards your values in life, constructive steps. The Sun is going to be squaring up to Jupiter in your 8th. So this is a reminder that this year is an excellent time for you to be expanding with interdependency, right? Relying on others perhaps, but also to maybe getting deeper and more vulnerable in life and maybe in your relationships as well. So that's what you're learning so much about with Jupiter in the 8th. And because this lunar cycle is now at the halfway points of this Jupiter cycle, there's this T-square forming. It is about being patient with these things, having to do with interdependency or trust, vulnerability. Even though there's a lot of positive energy, certainly know that there's opportunities here. But yeah, take it nice and slow, nice and grounded, because the square there is suggesting grounded steps towards those opportunities. And then Friday, Mercury does sextile Venus, so then it sort of eases up this routine and stuff. If it was more if it was more impulsive or reactive earlier in the week, it certainly eases up. Sorry about that noise. It's particularly loud right now, actually. People doing construction next door, but I think you can still hear me. But anyways, yeah, around Friday, Venus sextiling Mercury. A bit of flow, a bit of enjoyment, I think, to be had with the routine, in fact. And even enjoying a bit of home life, family life. Even your health could be supportive at this time. I think with Venus in your 4th, you're enjoying this. Maybe spending time at home, family, health. All right, a lot of good beauty there, a bit of good enjoyment. And you're seeing the value, I think, of a lot of these things as well. All right, so Aquarius, that's the week in a nutshell. The emphasis, of course, being this full moon, this awareness about your aspirations and things larger than yourself and community, and how all of that needs you to be expressing yourself, right? And vice versa. Your fun, your enjoyment needs this, these things larger than yourself. Now, mind you, this full moon is going to be very close to Pluto, so I think there's going to be a lot of deep fears being brought to the surface, maybe about your aspirations. But no, you definitely can pursue your aspirations. It's your life path with Sagittarius. And you can certainly connect to community, friends, and network circles, but maybe you got to face some fears to do that. Accept some fears. When we fully accept the fear, we're free to make the changes and do the things and take the steps and the actions that we otherwise would make because of the fear. All right, so Aquarius, have a fantastic week. Thank you for all of your likes, comments, and shares with these videos. If you'd like a personal reading, there is a link down in the comments section for that, looking at your specific chart for the year ahead. But have a great week, and I'll see you all for the full moon report. Take care. All right, Pisces, welcome to your weekly forecast. So this whole cycle, this lunar cycle, is about your fourth house of home, family, and or your health, right? So your energy levels might be at a bit of a low right now with Mars and the Sun down on your fourth house, the bottom of the chart. But they're best utilized through your home life, through health, maybe through exercise, things like this, and motivation towards anything that you're sentimentally connected to, such as family, but your soul family too. And listening to your intuition at this time can give you that sort of energy as well. So it's all about personal life in terms of this cycle, but you do have this full moon in your 10th house, Saturday, Sunday. So this is the house of career, of productivity, of achievement and success in life. So now you get this sort of culmination here. First of all, if there's been anything from 6 months ago that you started anew involving career, productivity, etc., that could be coming ahead this week. Now, some things obviously are harvested, some things come ahead, but other things don't. And so that's why it's such a good time during full moons to do a status check, because it's the halfway point of the cycle. So doing a status check Saturday, Sunday in terms of your career, in terms of your productive life, whatever that is for you personally, and maybe facing some fears, right? This full moon is in a very close conjunction up to Pluto, suggesting that it's bringing up these fears, maybe for you relating to achievement, success, your productive life, your career, things of this nature. So this is going to be a very powerful full moon. I think there's going to be transformations and changes here for sure. And so as you bring more awareness to these fears and accept these fears, you're going to find that that is what's helping you take the steps that you otherwise may not have made had you listened to the fears, right? Had you still been afraid, that are preventing you from, yes, cultivating whatever this is, that this insight, this inner guidance is giving you at this time, involving, again, bigger picture things in life, such as career. So very powerful. Great weekend for doing the status check there. And also, too, bringing in the balance between your career life and your home and health, right? Because as I said, this whole cycle and really all week long, there's just a lot of good energy for you to be cultivating these foundations. Health, being good health, listen to your body, maybe spend some time at home or with family, right? This is what's setting the roots of your chart, the bottom of the chart. But then as we get into Saturday, Sunday, yes, those things, personal things, will be coming ahead. Great time to do a status check with that. But then it comes into the play about how this much larger cycle about your career and productive life is now, coming ahead as well. So it's about balancing both, that your career needs you to have good personal life, to have good home life, to be in good health, right? And your personal life, of course, needs you to be achieving, productive, striving for future, right? Which is the 10th house. So balance of both, even fear of both. But I think the fear with Pluto is what Pluto's showing you, what Pluto's uncovering. It's the fear's already been there, but it's uncovering this deep stuff for you to accept it. And I think it is about particularly the achievement, success that you do want to see in your life, that through accepting the fear, the worst case scenario, whatever the fear is, if there is any or multiple, whatever the mind conjures up, through acceptance, it liberates us, it frees us up to then make those changes. And then taking the action steps towards whatever that inner guidance is telling you here about the life path, about what things are unfolding with your career, to continue to move forward in this 6-month cycle involving those transformations and changes there. All right, so along with this, we do have Mercury going into your 5th house early in the week, Monday, Tuesday. So you'll likely find your mind's probably going more in terms of self-expression. Maybe a lot of you will be expressing yourself or doing creative things that involve the mind, such as writing or journaling or poetry or any type of art that uses skill, painting, other types of crafts or something. Lots of this mental creative energy, creative intelligence, you could say. But most fundamentally, I think just expressing yourself, maybe having a bit of fun, learning about what you find fun in life and what you're passionate about, what's close to your heart, and tapping into a bit of that playful spirit. So along with that, on Tuesday, Wednesday, that Mercury does square up to Uranus, though. So there might be some clash, right? As I was saying in the general, maybe a bit of anxiety, impulsiveness, scattered energy. And so if you're feeling that, again, taking that step back or just being aware of it, what's happening here is Uranus in your 1st house is helping you be more of who you are and to have more freedom in your life, more liberation of being who you are. So listen to that. But at the same time, if it's, again, reactive or impulsive, it's about implementing this in constructive ways, right? In balanced ways. Listening to that freedom and taking the constructive steps towards, yes, having more freedom of being who you are and direct and independent, which, is the larger picture here, but in balanced and healthy ways, right? Wednesday, Thursday, the sun does square up to your traditional ruler, Jupiter, in this cycle. So I think there's certainly opportunities here, as there has been this year, with relationships, one-to-one connections. You've likely seen these start to move forward these past few weeks since Jupiter's gone direct. But here with this, maybe there is some constructive steps, constructive actions you can take to, yes, enjoy your relationships or to cultivate some of these opportunities in relationships. Or maybe through relationships, there's opportunities as well. So this is the area that's expanding, is all this one-to-one connection. But with the square, what are some action steps you can take? So maybe be patient too with some of that stuff this week. And since the sun will be squaring up to your ruler, again, Wednesday, Thursday, expressing yourself in balanced ways if you do feel like there's a lot of this. Again, it's more of a personal thing. It's a lowered energy, right? It's personal life, health, and all this. But if you are feeling like expressing yourself, bringing some extra tension there so it's done healthfully, grounded, with that sun square Jupiter. But again, I think it's more about constructive steps. Maybe constructive steps towards how you can cultivate your personal life and relationships, right? And how relationships also links into your career, right? It's this T-square going on here, this link. How can you link up personal life, career life, and your relationships? It may be clashed, there might be difference, something like that, something requiring integration. But yeah, taking the steps to integrate them. Then on Friday, Mercury does sextile up to Venus, which is this bit of flow, actually. Maybe you're enjoying a bit of the learning, reading, writing, all week long, really, but maybe emphasized around Friday. Again, it's linked with your self-expression there, enjoying some of that. And there's just a bit of, I don't know, easygoingness. Maybe your relationships, you're enjoying a bit of communication there, sharing of ideas, that type of stuff. All right, and then Saturday and Sunday is the full moon. Saturday night, Sunday morning for most of us. It's going to be a full moon in your 10th house of career. This achievement coming to the forefront, this awareness about it, but also how you can, accept the fears, and through that, then you'll see, I think, how this is a part of your life path, and that through taking the steps and actions in the face of those fears can be very, very transformational. All right, Pisces, so have a fantastic week. Thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares with these videos. Hope you found this video helpful. There's a link down in the comment section if you'd like a personal reading looking at the year ahead for your specific chart. So do get in touch if you're interested in that. But I'm wishing you all the very best week, and I'll see you very soon for the full moon report. Take care.